She was married to my brother Barry. Yeah, no, she's married to Dave.
And this is Kathy, and she was from Tabor, California, but she married Billy.
All right. I would like to welcome you all to Kongsvinger Lutheran Church, to our charity event tonight, benefiting the Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity, as well as the Warren Food Shelf. Thank you all for coming. And so you are welcome to be here. It looks exciting for tonight. Now, a little bit of a note here. Tonight's festivities will begin, you'll note we're going to be eating here in a minute, with a hot dish competition. I got to warn you, okay? Pay attention to the details here. If you would like to participate in judging the hot dish competition, you're going to need to get a plate and then take it to the kitchen counter. And here's the big part. In order to participate, you're going to have to taste all 8 entries. So I apologize that we didn't warn you to come hungry. Hopefully you thought that out. Okay? So, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. So y'all, if you'd like to judge, you just have to be able to taste all 8 entries and see how this goes. Take notes or whatever you want to do. And of course, before we get rolling and get starting, I think it is appropriate for us to pray for the Lord's blessing on our food. Let's pray. The eyes of all look to you, O Lord. You grant them their food at the proper time. You open your hands. You satisfy the desires of every living thing. So bless us, O Lord, in these your gifts, which we're about to receive from your bountiful goodness through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Bon appetit. All right. After we are done eating, then the speaking and things like that will occur. Sorry.
Is Becky ready for graduation? Oh, I don't know. She's got 2 weeks.
It goes fast. Does she want me to bring a pan of bars or something? Oh, sure. So maybe you'll raise off.
Wraps it around.
That's good.
Unreal, I've never seen it.
You did spectacular there.
Oh, it will be, Jenny. Yeah, she'll be there.
All 8 of us go into the kitchen.
I mean, really. Yeah.
I saw her at the salad.
You're kidding.
Share a pencil.
I'm not bringing it up.
I need a voting thing.
No, I'm still on. I get to see I'm not going to officially say
There's no competition. I still want to like he's got
I think Davis
Oh my gosh. I have a show. What is the one play? Say to the other. What is on me?
No, imagine that you have a reporter here. Then you bring them and have them going around.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what I think.
Good, fine, clear. I got one way to look out, we have to fix an hour.
Don't have any at all. We've collected all the pencils, so all of them.
Yeah. all these years.
Josh, he's got about 100.
Getting the camera.
Salad dressing.
I was gonna say, you were the first table to finish, but you're still the first table to finish. Oh, you're eating now. No, I didn't It's always the tall person that sits on the head. It's usually me. And I do that and I knock people's You guys were the first
All of mine have now already. I did that last year, and then this year.
Yeah, no, it's stuff. It's like a true
And then now they're I have a lot of work cut out right now. It's not just
Yeah. And like, yeah, it all opens at like this big age group, and there's like a promenade around. It's very cool. Like you really don't know. You really don't know what's you don't say sure. You just say thank you. Thank you personally.
We're talking about I don't know. A driver got out. He was 77-year-old and he tried to step.
Yeah, could have been Mike.
That's probably about right.
I'm going to call him back.
We don't know who it was. We haven't gotten the name.
Sam is like the your dad's like one of your
I think there weren't as many. Oh, I make them all the time.
I can see people like going on those like 6 years. Bunch of senior citizens show up. CHC companies go to There was a guy there was like a little like ice cream truck and he plays a little jingle and you come out and he's like a brand in the back of his truck and you're sharpening your knife. Yeah. Great business model. Yeah. He had a small child.
Okay, I hope everyone is enjoying each other's company and the food, and that you've chosen and voted for your favorite hot dish. And I'm here to announce that dessert is now ready. In case you didn't save enough room for that, find a way and make yourself at home and go on up there. I think there's ice cream and chocolate somethings and bars and stuff. All right.
he speaks German, so he was like, he like contacted all the butchers, and he's like, he had like, so he can get like, he get like all the local butchers, he got all the local butchers to make like sausage, and like other stuff, and then he get all this, like, he get all these kegs of beer, and then one year, he hired a few and like, it worked. No, I don't know. But yeah, like, huge fundraiser. They like saved that church. They saved the church on the back. Go boxes.
Neil's got the other one. Between Oslo and East Grunford. I mean, we're south. Yeah, we're that way. We're not up north. Here, letter Nelson. You know, that was my uncle. Carl Nelson was my uncle. Chris Nelson was my uncle. There are cousins. Yeah, Richard, Santa Nelson. You know, Eileen was a Nelson. You know, we're Nelson. No, we're not related. So that's where I know, we're all Nelsons. Awesome school, you know, somebody said when I say Nelsons, you know, they people want to know which family. You know, that's why I'm on. It's like, how do you describe tribe?
That was about how I felt that year.
It's what that is, that's DeCapco. He's looking for regular Hong Kong.
There can be some telling. That's true. There's some one of my I've got a who does very well meaning.
Oh, you got something.
Put it next to
All right, if I can have your attention, please. I have heard from the person who counted up the votes that it was a hot race in our Hotdish competition. Hey, they're pastor jokes. They're worse than dad jokes. Just get over this. All right, so I'm going to now be announcing the winners, and hopefully, hopefully you know which number your dish was, because all I have is numbers. I don't have names. All right. So in third place tonight in our hot dish competition was dish number 9. Dish number 9. Who made that one? There was no number 9? I have number 9 on the thing. Hold on a second. There has been an error in the tallying. Let me consult with the judge. Uno momento, por favor. No, this isn't embarrassing at all. All right. 9! There is no 9. Okay. Well, hang on. We have a problem. Hang on a second here. I'll be right back.
Sharp groups we are, that we caught it right away with it.
Okay, all right, we're back. So apparently the judging of the hot dish competition was a hot mess. So, okay, so pay attention. I don't know who won. So third place is hot dish number 2. Hot dish number 2. Do we know who that was? Marilyn. Yay for Marilyn. Huzzah! Very good. Okay. All right. No speech. No, that's good. All right. In second place is hot dish number 8. Oh, all right. Very good. Okay. And in first place in our very first ever hot dish competition here at Kongs of Inger Lutheran Church of Oslo, Minnesota, don't you know, is hot dish number 3. It's Barb. Yay, pastor's wife. Yay. Oopa. Okay. Congratulations to the winner. And thank you all for the wonderful food. It was absolutely spectacular. All right. We are getting to the point where we are going to be doing some things. I have to grab my notes real quick, and then we'll have you come up. Are you about ready? Are you ready? Okay. All right. Let me grab my notes because I'm supposed to say things, but I can't remember what I'm supposed to say. All right, let's see what we got here. Again, I would like to thank you all for coming to our fundraiser. Tonight, the beneficiaries of our fundraising efforts are going to be the Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity. We'll be hearing from Julie Kotsmatka here in a moment as she will tell us a little bit about what is happening with the Habitat for Humanity. And just a little bit of a note, the Warren Food Shelf is also going to be receiving half of the proceeds from tonight. And so clients in need to come to the Warren Food Shelf once per month to receive shelf-stable food items and paper products, as well as produce during gardening season. The Warren Food Shelf is a wonderful outreach in our community, and your contributions will help support them. So with that, I'm going to invite Julie to come up and tell us a little bit about the Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity.
8 minutes.
Hang on a second here. The battery just died. Okay. I mean, seriously, I turned it on and it was flashing red. So, yes, you do need it. Okay, uno momento here. It was a good effort. All right. If it's not one thing, it's another. Let's see.
It's a sign.
I saw the sign.
Well, something had to die tonight.
Really? Really? So it's been official. We now have a death here tonight. It's a microphone. So, all right. Here you go, Julie.
Okay, just a second, I need your help here.
Okay. This is ready when you are.
Okay, how do I get the screen on?
How do you what?
The screen,
I have no idea.
should it be on the other screen?
It is on there. Yeah, whatever is on your screen is on that screen.
Thank you. It's an honor that you have chosen Habitat for Humanity to be a recipient of the donations received tonight. Be assured the funds will only be used for a family who receives one of our homes. I am Julie Lind Kosmutka. I'm the Executive Director for Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity. We cover Polk County in Minnesota and Grand Forks County in North Dakota. I've been with Habitat since May 2024. I retired after a 45-year career with the North Dakota state government, managing human resources and payroll. I realized retirement wasn't for me, so I was fortunate to get a part-time job with Habitat. I live on a farm by Oslo, in fact 2 miles north of Kongsvinger Church, which I've been a member of for 67 years. No one said I look young, right? 67 years. Our farm raises sugar beets, edible beans, and wheat. As many of you know, Habitat for Humanity is a Christian-run organization, and it's about more than just building houses. It's about building communities, providing a sense of stability, and offering a hand up to those who need it most. Our mission is to ensure that everyone has a decent, affordable place to live, but we can't do it alone. We need you. We strive to continue our work to help people find a safe, secure place to live and to build a future that is full of promise. We all have the power to make a difference. I'm excited to share that we are gearing up to announce our next partner family. This is always such an emotional and joyful occasion for us as we welcome new families into our Habitat family. These are families who will work alongside us, putting in 200 hours of sweat equity to build their own houses. And in turn, they will help build a future of opportunity, stability, and security. We own lots in Grand Forks on Thames Court and by University Park. We also have one lot in East Grand Forks that I can't get rid of. No one will live in Minnesota. But us. But that's not all. We're also thrilled to announce that we are embarking on our first home rehabilitation in 36 years. We purchased a foreclosure home in Grand Forks on South 17th Street, and we've been renovating since Giving Hearts Day, February 13th. Local companies have been on the journey with us. American Crystal Sugar, I can't say enough about the sugar employees. They come time and time again. Franzen Bank, Gate City Bank, Center Space, the Masons, and Development Homes, and numbers of volunteers who come every other Tuesday. As we move forward with these exciting initiatives, we are reminded of how deeply our community cares. And for that, we cannot thank you enough. Every gift, every act of kindness helps us get one step closer to a world where everyone has a place to call home. Thank you for supporting our local habitat. Let's build homes. Let's build hope. Let's build a stronger community. I have just a few minutes short. Am I over my time, Kenny?
You're good.
So the Habitat for Red River Valley started in 1989. The idea that became Habitat for Humanity first grew from the fertile soil of a community farm outside of Americus, Georgia, not President Jimmy Carter. Partnership housing concept centers on those in need of adequate shelter, working side by side with volunteers to build safe, decent, affordable homes. It was founded in 1976 by Millard and Linda Fuller. How many thought it was President Jimmy Carter? Oh, no one? Okay. So our mission, putting God's love into action by bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Our vision, a world where everyone has a decent place to call home. I'll let you read the principles. Who we are. I'll let you read those too. Like I said, Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity began in 1989. 11.5% of North Dakota residents and 9% of Minnesota live in poverty. That number seems high to me. Do you think it seems high?
No.
No? Interesting. Whoops. You can read on the home ownership. The last bullet is our Habitat Helpers Repair Program. We're in our second year. The state of North Dakota is giving us $4,000 each year until the funds dry up, which could be sooner than we think. And we are rehabilitating, or repairing a home, in Gilby, North Dakota for Karen Grabansky. And when I say a name, they sign a waiver with us that we can use their name. So if you want to be a volunteer, you can read the bullets on that. Any questions? What a good audience.
Do you explain how you weed out who is the best family for the home? Would you like to explain?
Oh, sure, for our applicants. So the home at 1914 South 17th Street is turning into a beautiful home. And the problem is I've had 13 families apply, and not one makes the credit check. You have to have a credit score of 640. And so we're still sitting with a vacant house. So if you know anybody that needs housing, please see me or tell them to go to rrvhabitat.com. And it's sad to me that we need to help these people to get a home, but if they can't make the credit score and they can't pay their mortgage, it's not beneficial to either of us. Does that answer it? You can support us by the following ways. Thank you.
Oh, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
You're welcome. All right. I feel like our next speaker doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to read one anyway. Victor M. Sweeney. This is like the first time I've been in Kongsvinger Lutheran Church with Victor without a corpse here. So, people refer to him as the internet's favorite mortician. If you haven't heard, I mean, this guy's internet videos on YouTube, like majorly viral, like 20 million views, things like that. So Victor M. Sweeney is a small-town undertaker and soon-to-be-published author. He resides in Warren, Minnesota. He's appeared on the History Channel, CNBC, and has been featured in various news stories and podcasts. He also has over 50 million views on YouTube, answering questions about his peculiar skill set. His wife, Paige, and 4 children are Latin Rite and Roman Catholics attending Mass at St. Stanislaus Catholic Church in Warsaw, North Dakota. And Victor Sweeney, come on up and tell us about life, death, and Hotdish, would you?
Wonderful. Thank you, Pastor. I feel like I know most of you here already. And actually, I want to just take a quick shout out to Ken and Judy. I saw you last night at a death call, actually, at 11 in the morning. And in talking to them today, I thought it was like days ago. It turns out it was just last night. So I'm actually operating on 3 hours of sleep. So if I start speaking gibberish, just stop me. But no, thank you. I was asked to come here and speak about Hotdish, something that's maybe not discussed often enough. I don't know. But when Don Matheson reached out to me, one of the organizers of the event, we were on the phone bantering back and forth about what we're going to title this speech. And we stumbled upon life, death, and Hotdish. And as snappy as that is, I initially racked my brain to figure out how am I going to talk about 2 things that are extremely vital and important, life and death, and then something that is just so banal as Hotdish. I thought about changing the topic to life, death, and Jell-O salad. Thought about that. But it doesn't convey the same gravitas as Hotdish. For those of you who aren't initiated, a Jell-O salad has no vegetables in it. It's mostly whipped cream or mayonnaise. The cookie salad screams Midwest. Cookie salad, for those of you that don't know, doesn't always have cookies in it. Usually it's like crumbled up Snickers bar and some apple. Yeah, shout out for cookie salad. But no, as great as cookie salad is and Jell-O salad is, we really do like our comfort food up here, the ubiquitous Hotdish. Now, for those of you not in the Midwest, you're probably wondering what in the world I'm talking about. Jell-O salad is its own thing. But what is Hotdish? So it's probably important first that we define what a hot dish is, and then also we define what a hot dish is not. So I'll start with a story. I grew up in a suburb of Detroit. I'm not from here originally. I landed in Bismarck as a teenager, and my dad likes to tell this about Hotdish. So he had a coworker from the East Coast come to was invited to a potluck. And they say, yeah, bring a hot dish. He doesn't know what a hot dish is. He figures it's something warm. So he brings green bean casserole. As you all know, green bean casserole is not a hot dish, right? That's its own thing. But you'd think, being a casserole, it would qualify, because all casseroles are hot. No, they're not. They're not. Casseroles are not hot dishes, and hot dishes are not casseroles, but they are very closely related. There's something about them. So in kind of drilling down and trying to distill what is the essence of hot dish, here's the poetic description for you. It is a warm meal. It is made with love, possibly with a recipe, but probably without. It's kept safe, it's brought far, and then in the end, it's shared widely. And that's essentially what we've done here tonight. I mean, we had all these crock pots lined up on the table there, and everyone got to share and distribute, and they were all indeed made with love. But that is what a hot dish is. That's the poetic way, mind you. The prosaic way is it's a combination of noodles and some meat and some canned soup, and then maybe some frozen vegetables thrown in. Now, if you put tater tots on top, that becomes Minnesota state food. That's the tater tot hot dish. Okay, I think that's its kind of own category of hot dish. Am I right? See, I'm not from here. I don't know for sure. Yes, its own category. Yeah, it's its own thing. But why was I, as a local undertaker, called to come up here and talk to you about hot dish, not casserole, hot dish? Why was I the undertaker called? Well, for one, I eat a lot of it. The ubiquitous hot dish is served after every funeral, right? Funeral hot dish. Tell me, what's in funeral? Carl, tell me, what's in funeral hot dish?
Scalloped potatoes.
Okay. Oh man, I have some words to tell you about scalloped potatoes. Marilyn, tell me, what's in funeral hot dish? No. Gosh, I want the right answer.
Noodles.
There we go. Macaroni noodles, ground beef. Yep. The hamburger, tomato soup out of the can. What? And then what's the last touch on the funeral hot dish? You know, it's the frozen peas. Yeah. Funeral hot dish. We love that. So I probably eat it once a week up here. Rain or shine, doesn't matter if it's -20 or 120. After the funeral, we go sit down and we eat our funeral hot dish. We could be pouring sweat and we'd still do it. Now, why do we do it? It's because the hot dish is kind of the balm to the soul. That's okay, I'll wait. Lorraine, you naughty thing. I love you. All right. But no, the hot dish is the balm to our souls when a loved one departs. Death knocks at our door, and we answer it with a crock pot in our hands. Isn't that the way of it? There's also the reality that the simple hot dish is a tradition, right, that brings us healing. So it brings us healing, but it's something deeper than just the food in the pot. Now, I have to admit something to you. I never understood why we eat after funerals. This was news to me. I'd lined up hundreds of funerals, right? You call the minister, and you call the organist, and you call the ladies to make a lunch in the basement of the church, or in the back, as they do here. And I always wondered why we do that. And the reality is, I had to learn it firsthand. I reckon most of you here I've met at funerals, so you've had deaths in the family. And I didn't realize why we eat after funerals until the loss of my best friend. So in 2018, my best friend took his life. And I was deeply involved in that funeral, not just because he was my best friend, But when you're a mortician and someone close to you dies, everyone wants to know, like, what do we do next? Even if there's someone who actually plans the funeral, they ask you because they know you. And so as deeply as involved in that as I was, I gave the eulogy, for goodness sake, of my friend Alex. I bared his casket out with some of our other friends. And I came back to the church after the very cold graveside and kicked the snow off my shoes and walked into the basement of the church. And I was hit by the smell, but not just the smell. I was hit by the warmth. And I looked around and I could see all the faces of people that I recognized, and family and friends. And as we all sat down there sharing food together, right, and sharing this meal, it finally clicked. I was like, this is why we do this, because we're all in the same room, we're all sad, and yet we have this meal to like fill our bodies when our souls are sad. And there is just that connection, that inextricable connection of body and soul, that if you tend the body, the soul does feel a little better. And so it took me a long time to learn this. And now when I have families and they're thinking about what they're going to do, are we going to have a lunch? Maybe we don't want to have a lunch. I always try to prompt them to have one. Even if the church ladies are a little bit harried in getting one together. Right, Ann? Yeah, you know. So no, but it's a beautiful thing. It somehow touches the soul in a way that it is much bigger than just noodles and hamburger and tomato soup. That stark jump from emotional exhaustion to the warm embrace of a church basement, there's something to it. Maybe that's why we call it soul food, why it touches the soul. At least we call it soul food up here. It's for those of you in the South, it is not soul food, but up here it's our soul food, the Hotdish is. But I realized that it's that beauty, that soul food, it's part of our tradition. And it's tradition for a reason. It's a good one. It works, right? Anybody who's been in that position of losing a loved one and then filling themselves up with friends and family nearby knows that this tradition works. Now, I want to just take a quick shout out because we mentioned it before. Now, apart from having tasted many hot dishes, both today and in all the years that I've been doing this prior, I have sometimes had to grimace through scalloped potatoes and ham. Scalloped potatoes and ham is not a tradition. No, sorry. It balms the souls of people less sophisticated than those of us who love Hotdish. No. But I have something. So you heard in my bio. I'm a Catholic. I'm speaking to a room full of a lot of confessional Lutherans here. But as a Catholic, we love our traditions, not just the hot dish, right? But the big traditions, right? These other elements that heal our souls in a time when life is hard. Now, G.K. Chesterton, he's my favorite author. He says this about tradition. He says, tradition is the democracy of the dead. Can I repeat that? He says, tradition is the democracy of the dead. So that is, tradition is the vote of those who've gone before us, or the action items, or the thing that remains behind, because the many of us, or the many of those that are now gone, have sought fit to hand it down to us. So we're given this kind of living, breathing reality. Like look at that church, right? The church just over there, right? This living, breathing reality. We're given this. And it's not just the furnishings, right? Like the furnishings have been there for a long time, but it's more than that. It's these practices and these small quirks, right, that every congregation has, these little traditions, and they remain because they are good. Now, I think we should make a distinction, too. We Catholics, we love our legalism. We love making distinctions. Thomas Aquinas says, seldom, oh goodness sakes, I'm going to get it wrong now. Never deny, seldom affirm, always distinguish. We have to distinguish. My wife is mouthing it because she knows it so well. Yes, always distinguish. So here's something we need to distinguish about tradition, whether we're talking about hot dish or something substantially more important. There are two types of tradition, okay? We call capital T tradition and lowercase t tradition. So a capital T tradition, right? Big tradition, is something of true importance in our lives, in our faith. And for you Lutherans here, you could think of something like the Augsburg Confession, right? That is a big T tradition, something that guides the way in which you place yourself in the body of the church, right? Something that's of vital importance. The Augsburg Confession is 1530, is that right? So it's been guiding kind of Lutheran principle for that long. It's extremely important. And if we move away from the big T traditions, these fundamental things, we find we become less as a result, right? We are less Lutheran. Or if I, as a Catholic, were to step away from the big T tradition of the papacy, right? The new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, bless him. If I were to step away from that, I'm somehow now less Catholic, right? I'm less than what I started with. So the big T traditions, these guiding principles, these are fundamentally important. But is Hotdish a big T tradition? No, it's probably a small T tradition, even though it's super important, okay? Now, a small T tradition is something like an elevated preference, right? We have the elevated preference for our funeral Hotdish, and a de-elevated preference for scalloped potatoes and ham. No. But so things, a small T tradition would be something like the color of the paraments at the church, right? In Lent, they're purple, and in Easter, they're white. And that's not, your faith doesn't hinge on the color of vestments, right? Still important, because it also directs you to something that's true. So we're in the Easter season, right? The white is symbolic of Christ's death and his resurrection, right? And on the day you're baptized, what color garment do you wear? White, right? Because we die with Christ in our baptism, and we will rise again with him in his resurrection as well. And then now bringing this back to death then, what color is the funeral pall? It's white. It's a symbol of our baptism after the time we've passed away, to remind us that we've been baptized with him and we will rise again. Now, I have a little story about the funeral pall. So my first funeral here was back in 2014, I think. And it was Pastor Roseborough's first funeral in this church. So my first funeral in this church was Pastor Roseborough's first funeral in this church. And I didn't know him. We just talked to each other on the phone. And I call him, I introduce myself. And one of the questions he has is he goes, yes, are you able to get a funeral pall? Do you know what that is? Yes, I do. I know what a funeral pall is. And I can get one for you. So I went and sneaked over to the Catholic Church in Warren and took it out of the sacristy. And I brought it with us along with the tissue boxes and the reserve signs and the casket, right? And so we were ready to start the funeral. We closed the casket. My boss's dad, Chuck, who's the oldest licensed mortician in the state, back then he was only like 82. But we close the casket and we roll it into the aisle there, and we're holding the pall. And Pastor kind of leans over to me and he whispers real quick. He's like, okay, do you know when to place it? Because I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say this. And Chuck kind of stops him. Chuck and I have like 100 years of Catholic experience between us at that point. Yes, we know when to place the funeral pall. And now you have your own, right? And the funeral pall is one of these small T traditions, yes, that I really love. And I think any church that doesn't have one should really consider getting one. So yes, okay, number one, it's a symbol of baptism and the resurrection that comes with that. But two, there's something beautiful about the funeral pall, and that it is the great equalizer, right? You could have a casket made of cherry, you could have a casket made of cardboard under that. And under the pall, they all look the same. And the other thing I really like about the funeral pall, you don't know what's under there. Once that pall is on, I feel like if you have an active imagination, you can kind of imagine yourself under that funeral pall. And if you go to this church, right, the funeral pall, well, not the funeral pall that I stole from the Catholic Church for that one, Pastor, but the one you bought after, if you see it at a funeral, that is the same one that might be on your casket someday. And that's kind of a harrowing thought, maybe, but I think it's a really beautiful thought, too. Don't you? That there's this kind of continuity, and whether it's that exact Paul or your own churches, something about the universality of every person that's under that is like a beautiful gift from God if you know where to look. Let me see where I'm at in my notes. Now, there is another small T tradition on the Catholic side I want to tell you about that I learned about recently, and it makes me sad, because being a lifelong Catholic, I should have known about this from day one, especially as a Catholic undertaker. But I learned about it, and I've been thinking about it constantly ever since, and it's this. So back in the Latin Mass days, it wasn't in the rubrics, but it was a general practice, right? A small T tradition that when gathered around the graveside, the priest would lead all those congregated in a prayer for the person who'd be the next one to die. Isn't that, yeah, it's a little terrifying, isn't it? Yeah. But I can imagine, standing around the grave and looking down into a hole that's 3 feet wide by 6 feet long, and wondering if the next one dug up in that ground is going to be your own. But I think we need that today. I think we need to talk about and think about death more. And maybe if at every funeral you prayed for the next one who was going to die, maybe you'd live a little differently. I don't know. I like to think so. Or at the very least, you talk about it more. Because we don't normally talk about death just at home for fun or around the dining table, like present company excluded, okay? Because it kind of makes us uncomfortable. We're a little embarrassed by death, Like, I'm sure some of you are like squirming in your seats wondering why this mortician is talking to you about mortality right now. But I think maybe more than the fear of death, what I see a lot is like, we're a little embarrassed. We're a little embarrassed by death. And I think we're embarrassed mostly about being inconvenient. Like if I came up, well, my wife, God bless her, she's like, Victor, check your teeth before you start talking, right? And if I was talking to you with like a little piece of like tater tot up here, like I would be embarrassed, sure. But I do think like that fear of embarrassment grows every year. I'm a 34-year-old man, but I can imagine, as the years roll on, if I live to be an old man, like there will be times where I'll be embarrassing, and there will be times where I'll be really inconvenient, okay? I'm already inconvenient enough as it is, but it's gonna get worse, okay? And the thing is, like, every one of us is gonna be so inconvenient someday. But I don't think we need to be afraid of that. I think there are some antidotes to being afraid of inconvenience, and I've thought these up. You'll have to let me know if it's true, okay? But I think that the biggest antidote to being to kind of a fear of inconvenience is this motto that I try to live by that I picked up back in the day. So for those of you, maybe I've told some of you in passing over the years, but one thing I get a lot, kind of working in this weird space between the living and the dead as I do, is I got a lot of people saying, Victor, you should be a pastor, right? You should have been a priest. I get that a lot, you should have been a priest. And when I was a little boy, that's what I wanted to do. Always wanted to be a priest. And when I discerned out of that and kind of subsequently stumbled into funeral service, I used to still go visit my friends who were in seminary, right? They'd kind of taken the leap where I was afraid, or not afraid, but I discerned out. It wasn't my calling, but I would go visit them in seminary. And one of the rules that my friends in seminary had to live by, in addition to praying the liturgy of the hours, and their dress code was like a black cassock, right? Is they had this rule, which is never deny charity. Okay, never deny charity. And this is something I took to heart because it's honestly, it's really hard to do, but it works really well. And let me just explain it to you. So, all right. In never denying charity, we have to first understand, like, what is charity, right? It comes from the Latin root caritas, right? Which means love, right? So never deny the love of another person, right? Their charity, what they desire to give to you. So what that means is today, if someone offers me something, I will, unless I have a very good reason, always say yes. So I've been in houses where I come in and they say, take a seat. And like a cat has definitely peed on that chair. Okay? I always sit down. Don't care. I always sit down. Or like, one of my little old lady friends invited me over one time for coffee. And like, you open the door and like, I wanted to stop, drop, and roll. Like you couldn't even see, it was so smoky. Right? It's like the fumes of 1,000 cigarettes are hanging in the air. And I just strolled right in, right? For coffee. Pastor, Don, you're here. I was going to talk about your mom. So I went to pre-arrange with this lovely woman, Phyllis. I bet some of you knew her. She was the most wonderful woman. And she invites me in, and at that time she was fairly immobile. So she, her charity normally might be fresh baked goods, right? But she hadn't been baking. So it was like, would you like this piece of candy from my purse, right? Let's try to find you a cup of coffee. We'll heat it up in the microwave, And then she grabs a banana, and she's like, how about a banana to go with your coffee? And I've never been offered a banana with my coffee. That's very atypical. But the thing is, like when you decide, like, yes, I will sit down and eat 3 whole bananas over my cup of coffee, like it lets you into a person's world in a way that just saying no doesn't work, right? Because like, is it maybe a little embarrassing to like not have fresh baked goods for the young gentleman who wants to come plan your funeral? Like maybe. If you're a hostess like that, it might be. But she was neither embarrassed to give me 3 bananas in one sitting, and I wasn't embarrassed to eat them. We had a wonderful time. But there's something about entering that world and just not being embarrassed, never denying the charity. And then what's really nice is that it also works the other way. So in the same way where I'm not afraid to just say yes, I've also gotten really good at imposing myself on other people. Yeah, and that's something I think we as Northern Minnesotans struggle to do. So like I have a friend who I haven't tried to invite over, but I always have to plan like 3 weeks in advance. And then when he comes, he doesn't want to impose on me, right? So he brings his own beer and drinks his own beer sitting on my porch, right? And like I want him to drink my beer and sit on my porch, right? That's part of being hospitable, right? And so he could never, if he didn't deny my charity, he could enjoy like my beer. And we really struggle with that up here. And I don't know why we need such a pretense. I don't know if it's the embarrassment about being inconvenient. I don't know if it's like a little bit of embarrassment around death still. I just don't know yet. But I have tried to make that idea of never denying charity into something of a small t tradition in my life. It's something I talk about all the time. It's something I'm trying to instill in my kids. I'm a very, very amateur stone carver. I just picked up the hobby. I'm really not good at it, you guys. But I'm actually working on a rock right now that says, never deny charity, right? And I'm gonna put that in the ground in my yard so I see it all the time and keep that fresh in my mind, that small t tradition of doing that. Because here's the thing, a lot of my work involves charity. And a lot of times it's, if I'm being very honest with you, it's charity I don't always really want to give. I'm on call every other day of the year, every other weekend, every other holiday. So you take a year of 365 days, you split it down the middle as best you can. One half is mine, one half is Mike DuBois, my boss's. And you two know this, I was there last night at 11 o'clock. I went home and went to bed at 3:30 in the morning, right? It's not convenient. There's nothing convenient about death. But in knowing that it's just charity that we're exchanging, just love that we're exchanging, right? Between me and the families, right? Between me and Pastor. Pastor, you were the recipient of that. Was it this year? Last year?
It's almost been a year.
Goodness sakes. Yeah. And so it's just this exchange of love between me and the families I serve, between me and the deceased. And I just can't overstate how important the idea of never denying charity is. So once you learn to just accept life imposing on you, other people imposing on you, death imposing on you, that sounds way scarier actually, but it's okay. Let death impose upon you. Once you learn how to do that, you follow up with the other small T traditions. Right? We mourn our dead. Right? We glory in the great design that God has for each of us. Right? The inexplicable happenings that happen around a death. Right? It's terrible, and yet you find at the end it all turns out right, and there are little things along the way that you see that are little signs of beauty. You know what I mean? You see it. And one of those little signs along the way, as silly as it is, it might be Hotdish. It might be. It might be. It might be you delivering it to another. Because life is short. Maybe it is. We say I said Hotdish can be prosaic, right? Like you can think of life prosaically, right? It's like a short couple of days of a soul that had like bound up to some meat, and then one day it's not, right? That's the prosaic way. But the poetic idea of life is strangely like the poetic essence of Hotdish. It's warmth. It's made with love. Life has a recipe just as well as Hotdish does, but you might not follow it. And on our last day, we are kept safe, we are brought far, and hope that we've shared widely. Because life is a part of death, and death is a part of life, and both of these things are Hotdish. Thank you. You didn't think I could make a half hour out of Hotdish, did you? Yeah. All right. Well, Pastor, get back on the horn and tell me what's next.
I don't know if it's on the program, but don't you think Q&A would be kind of fun?
Do you want to do Q&A?
Yeah.
So I don't. For those of you that don't know, I am like a little famous on the internet for doing Q&A. I also hope to be known for writing a book, which I should have put a picture up there and like a link so you could pre-order it, because that would be really nice. But let's do Q&A. Can I tell you?
Yes, please.
First question. Tell us about your book. Okay. So in 2023, after fending off a great number of people wanting to make reality TV with me, I decided I was going to write a book because I could capitalize on some of the internet fame, if you want to call it that, but I could also control the narrative a little bit. So I, in short order, found a book agent. I ended up signing with Simon & Schuster. They're one of the largest publishers in the country. Yeah. And then I've been since, well, for the last year and a half, I've been like just grievously editing this book that I made. Because I'm not a writer, I got to tell you that, I'm just a country mortician. But so my book is essentially, it's a collection of kind of loosely related essays that detail my life in Warren and the people that I've known and loved. Some of them I've buried. And I think it's a book of soft philosophy, right? What I like to think is it's a map for telling you how one might live better by embracing death a little bit along the way. And so it has all sorts of anecdotes. I know some of you appear in it, some by name, some by association. But it's kind of my love letter to small town Minnesota through the eyes of someone who walks between the living and the dead. Yeah.
What is the title of your book?
Oh yeah, see, that's why I should have it up there. Foolish me. It's called Now Departing, a small town mortician on death, life, and the moments in between. Yeah. Yes?
When will it be available?
October 14th of this year. It'll be published, and it'll be on like bookstore shelves and airport bookstores probably, and available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I just found out it's going to be available at Target and Walmart even. Yeah. So that was crazy. I kind of freaked out when I saw that.
There's a link to pre-order on the Hotdish.
There is, yeah, on the snappily named lifedeathandhotdish.com. You can follow the link to pre-order it. It's $29.99 in most places. There's one of the area, like Simon & Schuster's Portal, you get a couple bucks off if you buy it there. And then if you brought it to a funeral, I would shamelessly sign it. Yeah, I would, shamelessly.
Your boss will let you.
Well, I don't know if he'll let me, but I just might. Yes?
Can I ask a non-book question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned the importance of having conversations about death.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, what sorts of conversations would you recommend families having while their loved one is still present? Like, what about death should we be talking about?
That is a really good question. So there are the practical things, right? There's the practical things of like one-word answers, right? Where do you want your funeral held? Where would you like to be buried? Do you prefer cremation or burial or something in between? Because by the way, there are a lot of options in between. Like for instance, you could have a family visitation with just like your loved ones, and you wouldn't even have to be embalmed. You cremate after, and you have the urn at the service, right? They're kind of all these mishmash sorts of things we can do in the way. But so those simple questions, ask those. Those are wonderful. I think better questions, though, are kind of the metaphysical questions, like, how would you like to be remembered? Or what message would you like to leave for the grandkids, right? Or like, do you have any favorite phrases that you lived by? Like if never deny charity is not in my obituary, I'm gonna be very sad. People need it. It should be on my headstone. We should just, I'd carve it myself, except I'm really bad at it. But no, I think like asking the really big questions are important, right? What matters? Because this is kind of interesting. So I write a lot of obituaries. Okay, I like maybe more than half of the obituaries at Du Bois like come out of my brain after sitting down with the family. And what's interesting about it is you sit down with someone and you go, okay, what do you like to do? And they go, oh, I like to hunt and do cars and knit and crochet, right? And it's all like very topical things. But then you ask the question like, well, how did you meet your spouse? Or you ask the kids like, what's your favorite memory of dad? Right? You start asking like the little prying questions. And then what usually happens is you get a funny story. Or you get something that kind of like moves you. Or maybe it makes like the family cry a little bit. But you get these emotional responses that then I'm able to like realize like, oh, this is what was important to grandma. It wasn't the knitting necessarily. It was like the making of the sweaters for each great grandbaby. Like that's the thing. It's not the needles and the yarn. It's more than that, right? It's not the working on the cars, it's the fact that like he taught his son how to use the wrench, right? These things are important. So yeah, to that effect, I think like digging down and understanding like what you feel deeply is so much more important than just those little trivial things along the way. I don't know, that probably, maybe I didn't answer your question or maybe I went too far. But, okay. Anybody else? Go for it.
You maybe touched on this and I missed it, but before you moved to Warren, where were you born, raised?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan, and then moved a little bit, and then my family moved to Bismarck, North Dakota when I was a teenager. And then that's where I met my wife. She's my high school sweetheart. We've been going steady since I was 15. And I'm 34 now, so it's been a long time. But I went to Catholic high school in Bismarck. I realized I was not called to be a priest, kind of like stumbled into funeral service and realized like, this is the middle ground, I can do this. Went to mortuary school in Minneapolis. University of Minnesota has a very old mortuary school. Got married as soon as I was out of school, had a baby 9 months later, and then when my lovely wife decided that she did not want to go back to work and we had to figure out how to make that happen, the options were either move to the worst part of Fargo, where we were living at the time, or we could look elsewhere. And we were talking about it very seriously for the first time. We're like, let's just table it, we'll sleep on it, we'll see what happens. And the next day, I got a call out of the blue from this Mike DuBois guy that I had never met. And he's like, hey, my name's Mike. You ever looking for a job? I'm like, actually, yeah. And so I came up to Warren. I had a burial in Fargo. I drove here as fast as I could afterward, before it got dark. Drove into like our green, beautiful little town. He showed me around the funeral. He was like wearing his golf clothes. It was like very low key. And we're like, well, we don't really have any better options. Let's just try it out. Never lived in a small town. You know, I had a standing job offer kind of waiting for me in St. Paul that I wasn't too keen on at the time. And so we tried out Warren, and we're like, a couple years, we'll move on. You know, we'll go to bigger and better things. And after, I don't know, 2 months, that turned into 11 years. So, and then now I'm on the cusp of starting to discuss buying the funeral home, which is terrifying, and just going to stay here. So there you go. That answer your question? It's where I started, and this is where I will die. So and that's okay. Oh, by the way, I do have my whole funeral planned. By the way, yeah, not as scary as you think. And and can I just like stump for this too? If anybody wants to pre-plan their funeral, all they have to do is call. It's very low stakes. We can sit down, have a cup of coffee. I can visit you at your house, and just chit-chat for maybe an hour, and then it's done. So not so bad. Yes?
So do you have any advice, or have you ever had families at odds with each other?
Every week. Oh yeah. No, this is extremely common. Because I think the reality is, like, death really does kind of bring out the worst in people sometimes. You know, it's a very emotionally heightened time. So I can remember one time I had to negotiate between like 6 sisters who were in factions, right? There were like 2 factions of sisters, and had to like negotiate to bury the deceased sister next to mom, because it was like the spot everybody wanted, you know? Managed to do that one. That was good. I've only ever had to yell at a family one time. So that was good. I kind of felt bad. I instantly turned into my dad, by the way. I don't know if he's watching. But just immediately, like, knock it off, that's enough! You know, and I already had them separated. Like, one family was on one side of the aisle, one was on the other. And I was like, you will not talk to each other like that, you will apologize right now! And then they were like just dead silent. They were terrified. Have this tiny little man in a suit yell at you the day of your dad's funeral. Yeah. But no, it's extremely common. And honestly, I don't really take it much to heart. I mean, I think like even these small divisions can be magnified in the face of death. And I do find that like a funeral is a really beautiful time to build a bridge, though. Like I have seen families healed like in front of my eyes at the time of a funeral. Like for as many that kind of struggle and kind of chafe a little bit, there have been so many families I've watched like come back together in the face of all of this. So yeah, honestly, it's kind of a privileged position I'm in to just be dropped into a family on like the worst day of their life. Yeah, it is a privilege. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
One thing that I hear discussed a lot is the idea of how to sometimes even explain for the first time the concept of death to a child.
That's a wonderful question.
Do you have any?
Yeah. Okay. So I do have some advice on that, but I have to like cushion you a little bit. The kids of morticians are total weirdos. Okay. Like we talk about dead bodies around the kitchen table like every day. So my kids are very comfortable. Like for instance, I bring the kids into work a lot to give my lovely wife a break, which she desperately needs. And I'll bring all 4 kids in, and like a couple will be building Legos in my office. And there was one time, this was a couple months ago, I was doing makeup on somebody in the casket in the front of the chapel. And I hear kind of this thumping around, and my 3-year-old had picked up one of the chapel chairs, slid it up to the casket, and was standing on it with his arms like this, watching me work. And he goes, "Dad, that guy's dead." So yeah, so my kids are not a good example of that. But no, I think in talking to children about death, one thing that I really enjoy doing is working with other families that are dealing with this, because a lot of adults don't know how to talk about death to kids, and I think that the truth is that kids like really have a good handle on death, almost better than we adults do. Like nothing stands in the way of their concept of like, grandma is here, but somehow not here, right? Like there is nothing that contradicts that in their little heads. So usually, like what I see is it's like a lot of practical questions. They'll be like, "Grandma's dead. Is she gonna move?" I'm like, "No, she's not gonna move." they'll be like, where are her feet? You know, because you can't see those in the casket. So I can't tell you how many times I've like opened up the foot end of the casket to like show the little kids where the feet are. I love doing that. Or like there was one, it was in Oslo actually, at one of the, I think it was Elam Cemetery. But there was a family having a graveside, and kids are interesting because they fluctuate between like intensely grieving and like playing as if nothing is happening, right? Like back and forth. And so these kids like are walking over to grandma and they're crying on the casket. Then they're like running and playing tag 2 seconds later. And then I look over and one of the big boys has ripped off a branch of an oak tree and he's walking over to the casket, and I'm not gonna stop him, I just want to see what would happen. And he and 2 other boys are trying to lower it into the grave to see how deep it is. But it was a great learning experience, and like those kids like are gonna be so acclimated with death in a way that like you and I, like, we don't really want to think about how deep a grave is. But these kids were like, that. They could tell you it was 1 stick deep. Yeah. Yeah, so just tell the kids the truth. Oh, word of caution, don't ever tell kids like grandma is sleeping. Don't do that. That's my advice, because then kids will be like, oh, I'm not going to sleep. I already have a hard enough time with that with my kids as it is, okay? But just tell them the truth. You know, grandma's dead, her soul's in a better place, her body is here, her body's important, right? Like none of us has experienced a single thing in this life without our bodies, right? Like everything we've seen has come through our eyes, everything we've touched has come through our hands, right? Even every like dream you've had has like come through your brain. Like our bodies are immensely, immensely important. And I think like telling kids that too is really important. Because we sometimes forget that in the hubbub of funerals, that like, yes, we have to think about grandma's soul, but also like we should be thankful for the body, you know, that tended to us, that held us, that loved us. Yeah. There you go. Any other questions? Real off the wall ones? Hey, Michael.
2 things, and maybe that's kind of just more Hollywood and that has never happened, but like, you'd be at, how would this be possible? You're at a wake, and the pastor says, you know, does anyone have anything to say? And the deceased would raise his hand.
That would be crazy. I would not want to see that. I'd be really scared, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of a scaredy cat. And as often as I'm like at home, I'm like at the funeral home in the dark, alone with a body. If that happened, I would run. I would run right out the door. I would hate to leave you all, but you be on your own.
And then the second part, how often does a funeral home get a body and the person isn't really dead?
Okay, you hear when that happens, you hear about it in the news. It's like once every, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know, it's more often than it should be. I've never had it happen. I did one time have someone who had cancer and was, for whatever reason, there were rumors swirling around that this person was dead. And so, like 1 week they'd be like, oh yeah, Bob's totally dead. And then sure enough, they'd be like, actually, nope, just kidding, that was a rumor. Then the next week, like, when are you know, someone would call, when are you gonna have Bob's funeral? I'd be like, I don't know, no one's told me anything, and sure enough, he's still living. And finally, he did pass away at like, in the wee hours. It's always in the middle of the night. And I brought him back, and I got him ready. And it was like a Sunday morning, I'm at church with my family, and the minister calls, and she's like, hey, you called me this morning. I just want to let you know, Bob is not dead, that's just a rumor. And I'm like, I have some news for you. If he wasn't already dead, I definitely killed him last night when I took all his blood out. Yeah. So if it has happened to me, I for the grace of God, have not known. But I will have a lot to answer for if that's the case. Yes, sir.
There was a visitation here in northern Minnesota a few years ago, and they had not disconnected the man's defibrillator, and during the visitation, the defibrillator went off.
Was I at that one? Because that happened to me once. Where was it in Roseau? We were there. That was me. Yeah, that does happen. So interestingly, Yeah, the pacemaker, when it's not active, it'll go teet, 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 teet. And it's not common practice to take a pacemaker out of someone. I usually leave that in. But yeah, the family approached the casket, and all of a sudden it went off, and everybody jumped about a mile, and we played it off. You know, I was real cool, you know, after freaking out a little bit, quietly to myself. I was like, oh man, he must have just been shown so much love, his heart. But then no, so actually since then, I actually take out every single pacemaker out of every body because I don't want that to happen again. And then as a side note, actually, around that time, I actually got hooked up with a program with the University of Michigan called My Heart, Your Heart. And what they do is they actually take pacemaker donations, like post-mortem pacemaker donations, because otherwise, right, they go in the ground or they go in the trash. By the way, all pacemakers have to be removed from bodies that are cremated because they have a battery, so you don't want to expose that to heat. But anyway, I got hooked up with the University of Michigan, and for a couple years I was sending in pacemakers, and they were checking the viability to see if they could be reimplanted in developing countries. And they actually just got approved by the FDA a couple years ago. So now when we do send a pacemaker in, there is a likelihood that it will actually be refurbished and reused in the developing world. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So it all started from being absolutely terrified at the side of that casket. Yeah. See, even good came from it. Yep. Gosh, that's funny. Yeah. So you don't get away with anything. There are no secrets in death.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
That's why people are afraid to die.
There are no secrets. Yeah, you're kind of laid bare a little bit. And I think it is intimidating. Like I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I don't want anyone to look at me when I'm in the casket. Right? Because like it is scary. Like you don't get to put on the mask that you get to put on every day, right? You don't get to kind of only put your best foot forward at death. But I don't know, I think sometimes like that reality, that grittiness, like those are the things people remember about you. You know, really who you were. So, I don't know. There's both good and bad, the beautiful and the sad. Like, life is just a beautiful mixed bag that way. Yes?
Could you talk a little bit about what it's like to prepare someone for a viewing? I know that you oftentimes look at pictures, but how do you approach that?
Okay, well, it's a good thing everyone's done eating. No, I won't get into the morbid details. But no, this is interesting. So this is one thing, actually, that I was very scared about when I first moved here. So the first mortician I ever met was in my mother-in-law's hometown. And he, I was an aspiring mortician, right? I was thinking about going to school for it. He had the job, so we sat down and talked. And the first thing he said, he's like, don't do it. The hours suck. The pay is not very good. You bury all of your friends, and then you hate it, right? And so he actually was like getting ready to sell the funeral home because he's like, I'm burying all of my friends. Like I'm ready, like I'm just gonna retire early because I'm sick of, having to like lay to rest all these people that I know and love. So I thought I was gonna be in a big city, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. And then I moved to Warren, Minnesota. But the reality, at least what I've come to find, is that there's something really beautiful about preparing someone for a visitation or a funeral, because it's like something I can do that almost no one else can, right? Like Mike can, I guess. There's just two of us. But like when my buddy Chris, when his grandpa died, like Sylvester, Sylvester Narlock? Do you guys know him? Oh, he was a wonderful man. He he was like one of my old man buddies. Like I cried so hard when he died. But when I got him ready, like I know exactly how he wears his hair. I know exactly what he should look like, right? Like he died like emaciated from cancer with his mouth open. But I knew what his face should be. And like I got his clothes on that I'd seen him in 100 times. There's like this like beautiful familiarity that comes with being in a small town that I think is really nice. So yeah, sometimes you work off of a picture, but like 11 years in, like I know and love the people that I have to bury, and like it has been nothing but a blessing and an advantage. Yeah. There you go. Victor's philosophy hour here. But no, thank you so much, like for coming to listen to a very morbid subject while you eat your hot dish. Yeah, God bless you for being willing to take the leap. Yeah, for those of you online, like, please pre-order my book. But no, I hope it's going to be good. I have I mean, some of the things that I'm riffing on like show up in the book. But yeah, it's really just like my love letter to Warren, and I've just been so grateful for it. You know, one thing I think you learn when you're around death a lot is you really learn how to appreciate, like, how to do gratitude well. Like, I'm grateful for every day I get to stand up. Like, I'm grateful for every day we don't have to open the file that says Victor Sweeney with all my funeral wishes on it. You know, like, it's like life is so beautiful, and like death, yes, it's a part of that. But I couldn't be more grateful to Warren and Alvarado and Oslo and the surrounding area. Like, I look around at like a room full of friends. Like, I know most of you here, and like I like that is, it's a blessing to me, and I'm grateful that you could come and share with me and with all of us tonight. So with that, Pastor, I think I'll leave you. But thank you again, everyone. Now Departing, a small town mortician on death, life, and the moments in between. Thank you, everyone.
Victor, I thank you for your time and regaling us with your stories. I can legitimately say that Victor has been a wonderful blessing in my ministry. Aside from the embarrassing little bits of reminding me of what it was like doing my first funeral, I've since become a veteran of them. And Victor and I have done many a funeral together. And the fact that he works all hours of the night is absolutely true. When my mother-in-law passed away last June, it's almost been a year now, he was there at the crack of dawn to collect up her body. And I remember one time, it's interesting because I go in with myself or my deacons with me, and we prepare people for death. You know, we do this thing called the commendation of the dying. And one of our members here at Kongsvinger, he was down in Ada, and we went to visit him, and we did the commendation of the dying with him. And then the next morning, I got a phone call from Victor saying that he had collected his body. And Victor wanted to assure me. He said, I wanted to let you know that when I got there and saw Arlen, he had a very peaceful look on his face. And so those little human touches, you know, just are things that stick with you, you know. And so thank you. Now, just a reminder, tonight we are shamelessly asking for your money. That's how this goes. This is a fundraiser to raise money for the Warren Food Shelf as well as the Red River Valley Habitat for Humanity. There is a basket over there, and the note in front of it says that you can make your checks payable to Kongsvinger Lutheran Church. And 100% of the proceeds are going to go for supporting the charities that we're supporting tonight. Those of you online, you can also contribute as well at lifedeathandhotdish.com or at kongsvingerchurch.org. And note that the funds that you are that you give us are going to these worthy causes, because you'll note that although death is an interesting topic and a morbid one, more importantly, we are all part of a community. Hear, hear. And that being the case, when people are in need in our community, those of us who've been blessed by God have a responsibility to care for each other and to help alleviate their pain and suffering. And so I would remind you of our community responsibility to the living. Even if they don't worship in your church, even if there's somebody that you don't even like, they can be a mean old cuss, it doesn't matter if they're in need, right? The scriptures are very clear that if you were to find your enemy's ox in a ditch, you know what you do? You help your enemy get that ox out of a ditch. And you sit there and go, but I don't like that guy. Who cares? He needs help. So that's the idea. We're all part of a community here, and would remind you that there are people who are suffering among us and in need of our assistance. And if we have that ability to help, that is considered a good work in the eyes of the Lord. So again, the contributions, you can make them payable to Kongsvinger Lutheran Church, and we will make sure that the monies get dispersed. And those of you online who are watching, and you got to hear the wonderful stories about death, life, and Hotdish, not in that order, but the other thing, you can also contribute as well. And again, thank you for coming out here to Kongsvinger Lutheran Church. And if any of you are looking for a church to worship at Sunday, I know a church, and I know a guy. Okay? You happen to be here. So we'll leave the light on for you. All right, thank you. Oh, a little bit, one last note before you leave. If you look on the bottom of your chair, if you find an orange sticky note, please feel free to take the flowers in the middle of your table. So, all right? All right. Peace to you all.